Today, we wanted to have a bit of a philosophical conversation, a little bit not as clinically oriented, but you'll find that actually it is the framework of the clinical approach that we're talking about today. It is the underbelly, it is the foundation, it is the seedbed by which a holistic, trauma-informed, process-oriented clinical approach to trauma healing can emerge from, right? And what kind of principle foundation is that? It is one that I would argue is fully Islamic. That's what would allow for this model to really shine. To talk about this and to frame it a little bit before we jump in, I'd like to talk a little bit about Islamic cosmology, right? The nature of cosmology, the nature of the cosmos or ontology, the nature of the world. Nature of being, excuse me. That's what ontology means, the nature of being. And so for me, I've been interested in ontology because as a naturopathic doctor and someone who is committed to healing human beings, I can't do that if I don't understand the nature of human being at a very fundamental level. Because if we're just adopting the secular, technological, scientific conceptions of what man is, we're losing so much of the reality of who man is. And we can't really help man then, because we're reducing so much of this complexity, so much of this harmony between self and non-self, connection with God, connection with nature, and reducing it to a couple variables, which is totally unproductive. And I would say even oppressive. Just really, it's unjust. And I find it to be unjust in some way, and stripping the rights of the human being. And so we wanted to pan out a little bit more. And I think it's probably a part two to the last conversation we had about mental health being not so a mental phenomenon, but more than that. And we wanted to say that, the human being fundamentally is comprised of three basic parts. This is the three parts that is spoken to in the hadith of Gabriel, when the Prophet ﷺ taught us about Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. And those are the levels of the jism, the ruh, and the nafs, right? The body, the soul, and the spirit. Now we'll talk about how maybe we can talk about this, Idris, how we're going to name the nafs, because we've talked a little bit off screen about mind, this word of the mind, and how we don't really like that word. So, but for now, maybe we can say tentatively, and we'll talk about it in a bit here, inshallah, body, soul, and spirit for now. And the idea is that these three levels comprise the human being. These are three worlds that the human being lives in. So the body is a physical reality that lives in the material world, that resides in the material world. It's present in that world. We have the soul, or people say the mind, or the nafs, we'll call it just the nafs, that lives in another world. And the ruh lives in the other world. Maybe we can call that like the malakut, or the jabarut, or whatever. I mean, these are higher levels of being. But we're in all of these levels at the same time. That's what's really interesting about this. It's like you are currently now in the malakut, in one part of you. Like you're already inhabiting that world. And so we want to expand our conception. We're not just in dunya. We're not just in the material world. The spiritual world is here right now because the ruh is here right now. And your nafs, which is immaterial. So we don't want to fragment and dissociate ourselves from the get-go by saying, oh, we're in the material world in this physical reality. That's not really true, right? And it can inform not only your practice and your reflection, but also our science and our medicine as Muslims. When we begin to see it other than that, we can expand our horizons to see that we're actually inhabiting multiple worlds here now, in the present moment, physically and spiritually, right? So, we have these different parts of us that inhabit different worlds. Allah Ta'ala is Rabbul Alameen. And so we want to be able to understand these different worlds inside of us. Right? Imam Ali has this amazing couplet. You've all heard this couplet. I say this, I recite it quite a bit because it's so beautiful. And he goes, تحسب نفسك أنك جرم صغير. You consider yourself to be this insignificant thing. وفيك انطواء العالم الأكبر. But within you resides, unfolded, the higher world. The higher world. And so you have this inside of you. I have this inside of me. We as human beings are unfolded micro worlds of multiple kingdoms, of the plant kingdom, of the animal kingdom, of the mineral kingdom, of the angelic, of the bestial, whatever, so forth, and beyond even. We are the son of prophets and daughters of prophets. I mean, these are complex realities. We have transgenerational realities that come into us. We will inshallah ta'ala transmit to our children and our offspring, and continue that transmission of information and energy and love and dua, and maybe even our wounds. And that's part of the healing journey, is how do we begin to uncouple those things so that we can send the good down and remove the bad, so that we can become vital and healthy in our lifetime and give our children and those to come a better chance, inshallah ta'ala, at finding their wholeness and finding their sense of self and their purpose, inshallah ta'ala.